And ultimately, when I was at that pivotal point, decided that's not what I wanted my career to look like. It's not who I wanted to be in the future.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of the best MBA podcast in the world, Get to Be School. Thank you for being with us. Thank you for your time. Hope that you are doing well. Things are great over here. Like I said last week, we came down to Utah for my brother's wedding. It's a beautiful day. Congrats to the happy couple. It was just such a great day celebrating them, being with family. I love a good wedding. I love receptions. For whatever reason, I love to go to receptions, and especially when it's your brother. So it was a great day, great week. Loved being with family. We're going to stay here through the holidays. Happy holidays to everyone celebrating this week. Merry Christmas to those who celebrate. It's going to be a fun Christmas here. We got a 5 and a 2-year-old, and Christmas is just very fun at that age. Very, very fun. Aside from all the festivities and the fun stuff, this episode is fantastic yet again. Oscar is a very good friend of mine. I adore him and his family. They're phenomenal people, and it was great to sit down with him and learn about his Stern experience. And I need to call out, I made the error of saying that he was our first Stern guest. Oren, I hope you'll forgive me. You are the first Stern guest. Regardless, it was a very fun conversation. I'm grateful to Oscar. What I loved about this conversation was that though we talked about business school, everything he shared, every really great insight was very much applicable to the non-B school world. Pay attention when he talks about contributing, criticizing, or consuming. I loved that part of his story. A very good example of something that can be taken out of the business school world and immediately put into whatever realm that you're in. With that said, again, reach out if there's anything we can do. Otherwise, it's the same request from me this week. Please shoot this to a friend that you think it would help or that would be interested. Please, if you haven't already, consider leaving a 5-star review, letting me know what you think of the show, and hope you have a great week. Go do something fun. Now let's get to the good part with Oscar. Oscar, thank you so much for coming on the podcast.
Great to be here. Thanks so much, Drex.
I'm so excited that this is happening. You and I, good friends, we're living in New York City together, and now you are doing big things at Stern. Would you take a minute to introduce yourself to the listeners?
I would love to. I'm originally from the UK. I grew up kind of all over the place, but settled here in New York for the last 3 years. Living here with my wife and our 1-year-old daughter. And a couple months ago, started the MBA journey at Stern, and I've loved it. So looking forward to diving in deep and dissecting my experience.
The cutest little family that New York City has ever seen. When did you start thinking about business school?
Yeah, it's interesting to go back because I always wanted a graduate degree. I definitely, when I finished my bachelor's, did not feel like that was the end. But what my path has actually been looks very different from what younger Oscar thought I would be doing. I did my degree in finance, but I actually very much was set on becoming a lawyer. That was my focus while I was doing my undergrad. And so I didn't take a lot of opportunities that existed while at the school. I wasn't really interested in doing a finance internship when I was going to be a lawyer. So I graduated, took the tests, had some great offers. And ultimately, when I was at that pivotal point of making this journey down this path, decided that's not what I wanted my career to look like. It's not who I wanted to be in the future. And I stayed in the business world. And I'm very grateful for that. And law is fantastic for so many people, but for me, it wasn't what I wanted my career to look like. I focused mainly on, different areas of the finance industry since then. It's mainly been individual focused when I want it to be organization strategy focused. And so that's what has brought me to an MBA. Is this is a great way to stay within the business world, make a pivot, recreate, reset where I want my career to go. And then since then I've been focusing on consulting. It's been a great choice for me. It's been a phenomenal step forward in where I want my career to go.
Okay, a couple threads to pull on here. How hard was it to pivot away from law? You'd put so much time and effort and had seen success. Was it hard to walk away from, or did it just feel right?
Great question. And I think it boils down to, you hear a lot about sunk costs in business school, and this is one of them. I plowed a lot of sunk costs into that path. There's a lot of hours studying for LSATs that actually I don't really get a return on. And it really, you come to a point and you're like, do I want to keep investing? And law school is a serious investment, right? And once you go down that path, there'd be a certain amount of handcuffs to stay within that career. It was a tough decision. definitely was. I had some great offers on the table. I had to make that choice there and then. I wish I had made the choice a lot earlier. I could have
Sure.
made a lot of different decisions, but I'm really grateful. And I look at everything that's happened with me and my family since then. And I'm very happy with my choices for sure.
Oh, well, and the great thing is that it is panning out so well. I do have to ask though, when you started then preparing to go to business school, was Zoe like, so help me, Oscar, if you get admitted and then you don't go to business school, I'm going to strangle you.
Credit to my wife. She is absolutely incredible. And there wasn't any kind of wishy-washiness of where I wanted my path to go. Sometimes you have to go down a wrong path a little bit to realize that definitely isn't the right path for you. So 100% confident going into the MBA. There was no tiny spectrum of my mind that thought that I wouldn't move forward with that. And yeah, my wife was incredibly supported the entire time. So credit to her. I appreciate her bearing with me through my career journey for sure.
I love hearing that. And you can hear it in your voice. As a friend, I love hearing that there is that certainty in what you're doing. We all want that. And I love that you found that. Give the listeners, you're our first Stern guest. Give the listeners an idea into maybe what helped you. It's a competitive program. And how did you land on Stern?
Stern is I can boil it down to three areas of why Stern really stuck out to me. One, I mentioned we've been living in New York City for the past 3 years. And while my wife is incredibly supportive, she would drag her feet to anywhere else other than New York City. So that definitely helped sway the opinion for sure. We have an amazing community of friends and people that used to include Drax.
Oh,
No,
Sam.
just kidding. You're still a fantastic friend of mine. But we love New York City, and so that was very appealing to us. And then I definitely wanted to, beyond the school experience, continue working in New York City. And so NYU presented a great opportunity of kind of having a foot in the door of all the relationships and connections that they have with firms that are right there, that you could go and interview or have a kind of get to know you event just a little bit down the street. That was very appealing to me. And then last of all, what really stuck out to me is what I saw of NYU, I really loved. I wanted a really collaborative school environment, and lots of schools have that. The ones that really, I guess, stuck out to me during the application process were Fuqua and Stern. From speaking with alumni, from what I saw of the application process during my interview and things like that, I just had positive interaction after positive interaction. And so when it came time to cement my decision, put down my deposit, I was ecstatic about making the decision to full steam ahead with Stern. So, and no regrets ever since, for sure. And I'm sure everybody has a similar experience, and I hope so, but I definitely have with Stern.
I like what you said about you could kind of tell maybe what the culture, or at least what the environment was going to be like through applications. We talk a lot about how you can glean a lot from alumni, but even the applications, like Stern has such, well, at least it did when I was looking, they have such a unique application where it's a lot around the pictures. Can you share a little bit about the application?
The pick six. I loved. I'm sure some people, might look at it with kind of raised eyebrows, but I actually really loved the pick six. It's kind of a similar concept. Like Fuqua has their, list of 25 items. Stern has you take 6 pictures that define who you are to present to the admissions board, and you can write 1 sentence about each of them, and that's it. I think it's such an amazing way of getting to know the people that you're interviewing beyond the they're obviously going to look at your resume, they're obviously going to look at the test scores, but ultimately NYU, what Stern keeps saying over and over again is they want to really cater their student body to have a type of atmosphere. I feel like the Pick Six is a very interesting, unique way of being able to dive a little bit deeper than that ground level and see who the people are that they're looking at admitting. And then the interview kind of highlights that further.
Okay. I'm so eager to get to actually Stern in the act, what it's like inside. But before we do, what helped you get in? Is there anything you can point to someone interested in going to Stern and say, hey, this actually helped do this, do X, Y, Z?
Yeah, it was really interesting for me. I had good test scores, but to be honest, I felt like my work history potentially was lacking in some regards, as I didn't have any huge names on my resume, and I was worried kind of that could be something that would differentiate me in a negative way compared to peers. But something I feel like that helped lift my application up was one, the narrative behind my story, and two, kind of my New York focus. I had a very interesting background where I moved over 20 times before I was 18 across, England, France, the United States.
Wow.
And I talked in my essays about my vagabond upbringing, and that's I know that was interesting to them because that was the first thing that they mentioned in the interview. And so I was like, oh, okay, great. So just having a narrative, and this kind of goes into the Pick Six as well, kind of concept of who are you and what story do you bring to the student body? And every single person in a classroom is going to come with a host of different experience and background. And that's what MBA programs want. They want to have diverse voices that are able to, share different perspectives and look at things from different angles. So I definitely think that's something that helped me. And then the other side was, I mentioned the New York focus. And I think this is true for everybody applying for a program. No, not just why you're wanting to go to that school, but why you're wanting to go to that place, and really go headfirst into that. Something that I did with NYU was I really focused on why New York. Just one example of that, one of my pick sixes was me and my little couple-year-old daughter in a all bundled up going to the New York City Marathon and cheering on marathon runners. And I said something about I love showing up and supporting my fellow New Yorkers and like with I felt like that was just one way of showing I love New York. We have roots here and we're here for the long term. I try to emphasize that in my essays as well. And I do think that helped. And I think just with wherever you're going, show why you're all in and so interested on that in that school beyond kind of just the basics of, ranking or professor or any of those things that aren't quite as important.
Okay. On that line, are a lot of your classmates either had they spent years in New York City before, or they want to stay in New York City? What are their ties to the city?
Yeah, I would say the vast majority want to stay in New York City. There are some lifelong New Yorkers for sure, or people that have been in New York for quite a while. I would say that is a good portion of the student body, but there's also people from all over the place and tons of international students as well.
Sure.
It's not that everybody that is in the student body has to say, I'm here in New York for the rest of my life. I just think for me specifically, that was something that was beneficial and helpful. And I think that's not isolated to just my case. I think showing that interest definitely helps.
Makes complete sense. And I love that you're touching on the need to focus geographically, not just on the school.
Mhm.
Very, very helpful. Thank you. That was a wonderful overview of your application process. Let's dig into how the school is on the inside. What are your favorite things about your time at Stern so far?
So many different favorite things, which is interesting in a kind of chaotic first semester during recruiting, but I've loved it. And I think what I would say is my favorite thing about the experience so far is just how much concentrated growth exists during an MBA program, or at least during my experience. I look at who I was or where I was at pre-August to now, and I just feel internally so much personal growth and development that's come from that. And that is invaluable. Beyond that as well, just the relationships that I've developed with so many different people during my program, the experiences I've been able to have, and just the opportunities to really launch forward in your career while you're also launching forward in different aspects, socially, mentally.
When you talk about personal growth, can you maybe share a little bit more there? I'm curious, is that like, oh, I'm just learning so much, or it's like, oh, I'm learning how to do XYZ differently?
Yeah, I think for me, there's lots of different ways. I do think being back in the classroom and learning and being tested academically, and then beyond the classroom, I'm pursuing consulting, so doing constant casing is very intellectually building and stimulating for sure. But I think something that I felt a lot of personal growth with as well is I definitely started the MBA program with some anxiety and maybe with some imposter syndrome. And I'm sure that I'm not the only person that's experienced that. But going into this starting the program thinking, what is my experience going to look like here? Am I going to be able to engage with all of these members of STEM on a deeper level? Am I going to be able to hold my own, keep up, and be able to be a engaged, participating member of the classroom?
Yeah.
I remember the first day of orientation, just connecting with this group of individuals who I legitimately loved and was like, oh, this is a fantastic group of individuals that I genuinely enjoy being around and want to, excited to spend my program with. And then beyond that, having experiences very early on, which built confidence in myself and my prospects for the future. And so I think just know that you are good enough and know that there's a lot of other people that are entering this situation in the exact same maybe mindset as you of how is this going to go? What is my experience going to be like? The school admitted you for a reason. They know that you are going to succeed. So trust in yourself. Know that things are going to work out and things are going to be fantastic as long as you actually let yourself be a part of this experience. Don't be kind of a sideline player. Be a contributing member of the classroom, a contributing member of your group, of your class, and you're going to have a fantastic experience. Is my perspective, and from what I've seen so far.
I love that. And how has that gone for you? In what ways do you feel like this is how I can really contribute? How are you getting the most out of your time at Stern?
Yeah, I have loved participating in groups outside of class as well. Being a dad does make it so can't go to all of the happy hours and things like that that do exist as part of the MBA program. I'm sure that you know exactly what I'm talking about, right? But
Yep.
I have loved that aspect. Gotten together with groups of people to go watch like Premier League soccer games at local pubs and things like that outside of the classroom, which has been fun. And then just I tried to really be someone that is vocal in classes to share my opinion. The best way I can describe it is there's the vice dean of the Stern program said there's 3 ways you can approach an MBA program. You can be a critic, a consumer, or a contributor. A critic is someone who kind of looks at maybe the weak points of the program or like and just always criticizing, and you're never going to have a great experience if that's your perspective. And the second one is the consumer, and it's someone who just kind of shows up and then leaves and shows up and leaves and is basically taking what's on the table but not looking for more. And then a contributor is someone who is actively looking to gain the most out of your experience, to contribute in the classroom, in and out of the classroom, taking everything that is there to offer and then giving more, like being part of the clubs and organizing events and things like that. Just make the most out of your experience because that is going to really shape what you think of your MBA. And you never want to, I mentioned I didn't take everything that I could have out of my undergrad experience, and I have a lot of regrets about that. You spend a lot of money, a lot of time out of your career doing your MBA. You don't want to leave it with any regrets. You want to look back on it and say, I really ate everything that was there possible to eat, right? That I took advantage of all the opportunities. And even within this semester, I look back and think, oh, there's, so many things that I wish I could have done more, but I'm really grateful for the things I have done. And I'm looking forward to doing that more in future semesters.
I really like that response, Oscar. And because it's just immediately you can apply that outside of business school, critic, consumer, or contributor to any environment you go. And I think sometimes it's okay to be a consumer, and certainly it's good to criticize sometimes, but
Absolutely.
contributor, that is certainly where I need to be more. Wow. Okay. This has been fantastic. Leave us with 2 things. First, just your favorite memories so far of Stern. Has there been kind of this was crazy, and maybe the listeners, maybe it won't even resonate with us, but it's like, it's your memory and it's your Stern moment. And then the other is, please leave us with a piece of advice, but you've already shared a few great nuggets. I would love just one more.
Awesome. Yeah, I would love to. In terms of favorite memories, there's so many different ones like academic. Like I can think of there was a Deloitte case competition that was really interesting and I love that. But I think my favorite moment of my MBA time so far was actually we had a block Olympics game. So our student class is split into 6 sections, and then there was the part-time Langone group as well. And we had a Olympic games where we're all competing against each other. We came from I think we were last place, and then we ended up winning the whole thing. And the mosh pit of our group just like yelling and screaming and coming together and shouting and jumping around as like adults who are deep into our career and like moving forward, winning like the dumbest competition ever, but to us it meant so much. It was just an awesome experience of people coming together from all different backgrounds and just having an amazing experience. So I loved that. It was a really cool aspect of just teamwork and just coming together. So I think that was my favorite experience, even though I've had so many other like amazing experiences. And then
I
your
love
other
that.
question, you said just closing thoughts or what
Leave
was
us with a piece of advice.
last piece of advice? I'm gonna quote the same vice dean actually. His name's Nate Pettit. He's awesome, by the way. He's at Stern.
Sounds awesome.
If you go to kind of any of the events, you'll see him. But I went to the admitted students day. He shared some information for people who, were still deciding whether they wanted to accept their offer at Stern or not. And he said, don't focus so much on the things that don't matter when deciding where you want to do your MBA and why you want to do your MBA. Focus on, the things that are so important. And when he said things that don't matter, he highlighted within a spectrum, within like a, category of schools, you're going to be all pretty much in the same space in terms of salary, teaching quality, ranking. They're going to be fantastic,
Sure.
right? Or like, within a spectrum,
Yeah.
they're all going to be like the differences are marginal. And he said, when you're choosing your MBA program, think of who you want to be around, and what kind of uncomfortable type of growth experience is going to get you there. And then choose your school based on that. And for me, I chose Stern because I wanted to be around a collaborative environment that really tries to prioritize the individual, that has this, is based in New York, has the foot in the door to be able to help me get to a great workplace within the city and just help me launch forward in my career. And so that's why I chose Stern, and all of that has shown up until now to be true. And I've thoroughly enjoyed my experience. Stern's a great place. I definitely have a lot of school pride already, which is great. And I'm sure everyone does in the MBA program. But who do you want to be? Who do you want to be around? And what kind of experience is going to get you there? I would not want to go back through the admissions process ever again. I'm sure that you're in the same space, but you will get through it. It will work out for you, and you're going to have a great experience as long as you let yourself have a great experience.
Goodness, man, that was so great. Oh, thank you for sharing such encouraging but just real thoughts.
Absolutely. I appreciate the opportunity. Taking tests again was terrible, by the way. Just having gone through that with the LSATs and then gearing up for doing, GMAT GRE,